In recent months, there have been several reports of banks closing the accounts of people who hold political views that the banks disagree with. This has happened in the United Kingdom, the United States, and other countries. In the UK, for example, Nigel Farage, the former leader of the UK Independence Party, had his bank account closed after he gave a speech criticising the government. A vicar in Yorkshire also had his bank account closed after he wrote a letter to his bank expressing his opposition to transgender ideology. In the United States, the bank account of the Proud Boys, a far-right group, was closed after the group was designated a terrorist organization by the Department of State. The bank account of Gab, a social media platform that is popular with white supremacists, was also closed. The practice of banks closing the accounts of political opponents is a serious threat to freedom of speech. It allows banks to censor people who hold unpopular views, and it can make it difficult for people to participate in the political process. There are several reasons why banks might close the accounts of political opponents. Sometimes, the banks may be concerned about being associated with controversial figures. In other cases, the banks may try to comply with government regulations. Whatever the reason, the practice of banks closing the accounts of political opponents is dangerous. It is a threat to freedom of speech, and it should be stopped. Here are some additional thoughts on the topic. Banks closing the accounts of political opponents is a form of censorship. It allows banks to silence people who hold unpopular views, and it can make it difficult for people to participate in the political process. Banks closing the accounts of political opponents is a threat to democracy. It allows banks to control who can participate in the political process, and it can lead to the silencing of dissenting voices. The practice of banks closing the accounts of political opponents is a violation of human rights. It violates the right to freedom of expression and participation in the political process. What do you think could be done to stop this practice? People can contact their banks and ask them to stop closing the accounts of political opponents. People can contact their elected representatives and ask them to pass laws preventing banks from closing the accounts of political opponents. People can raise awareness of this issue and encourage others to speak out against it. We must all work together to stop this practice and protect our freedom of speech.